You're listening to Secret Sonics, a podcast exploring the creative side of music production.
Hello and welcome back to Secret Sonics. I'm your host, Ben Wallick. Wow, did you guys see the Grammys? I didn't see the Grammys, but obviously I read about it afterwards, and I was really psyched to see the results. I'm a big fan of the Billie Eilish record. I've been gushing about it over the past 30 episodes on this show. And actually, when I, started the show, Phineas, Billie's brother who produced the record, was like my archetype of like the ideal guest I'd like to have on the show. So Phineas, if you're listening, I'd love to have you on one day. Or if anybody knows Phineas and thinks he would be a good fit for this podcast, let him know. But I was so psyched to see that they won the Grammys. I think they won 5 Grammys. It's amazing. They literally made a record in their bedroom and it won all the accolades. Like, it did it. Like, they did it together. And I think I read somewhere about like $3,000 worth of technology, which is it's not no money, but it's like a joke compared to what most recording studios have in terms of gear. The other person I read about who won 2 Grammys that I was super psyched to see was Jacob Coulier, who you've got to check out Jacob Coulier. He even has like these like breakdown sessions of like how he uses Logic to create his songs. You could watch a breakdown of his Logic session of Moon River, which he won a Grammy for. He won 2 Grammys for arrangements, and he does this in his bedroom in London, and using maybe a bit more gear than Billie Eilish and Phineas, but he's been doing it from his room for like a decade, and look how far he's come. Absolutely amazing. And both of these artists, are just being true to themselves as artists and just doing their thing with what they have in their rooms, which is, I guess, the studio they have, and being true to themselves, being artists, and then creating it, and then bam. And they stick to the craft, and they keep doing it, and they keep pushing. And I kind of wanted to just use these examples and the Grammys as a inspiration to push you guys, you listeners of this podcast, to go out and create. There's no excuses anymore. Like, literally, if you want to make something, go make it. And I'm preaching to myself as well, not just to you listeners. Like, there are so many things that I waste my time doing when I could be doing the right things. And I want to go over a few things that, that me, for example, have been down that rabbit hole, and I know other people have been down that rabbit hole, and tell them this is not the way, or this is just an excuse. So here are some examples. People use these as excuses. Technology. I don't have the right microphone. I don't have the right studio monitors. I don't have enough plugins. Stuff like that. You have enough to do something. And, obviously gear is important. Obviously technology is important. But the chances are you can make art with what you have right now. And don't let not having one thing of technology hold you back from even starting and creating. It's not enough. It's not enough of an excuse. Billie Eilish and Phineas made a record on $3,000 worth of gear. You can do for less. People complain about not having enough time. I complain about not having enough time. If you don't have enough time, it means you're prioritizing things wrong. Everything in life is a trade-off. There's a book I read this year called Essentialism, and it talks about this in depth. I'll put a link to the book in the show notes. But basically, if you choose to do one thing, you're choosing not to do another thing. And in life, you can only choose to do so many things. You can only prioritize so many things. And when you choose what to do with your time, you have to do so with total scrutiny and make sure that what you're doing actually aligns with your goals and isn't just a distraction and isn't just something you think you need to do. Find your goals and choose wisely, my friends. Another thing that people do, including me, is working on your business. How do I, adjust my business so I can get more artists to work with me, to make music productions with me? How do I work on my business rather than in my business? There's a podcast I keep referencing on the show called the 6-Figure Home Studio Podcast, which I absolutely adore. And I've learned so much from those guys, Chris and Brian. If you're listening, shout out to you. And they talk about setting aside time to work on your business instead of in your business. But I know people, including myself, who have spent way too much time working on their business instead of in their business. At a certain point, you completely lose the forest for the trees. and you work on like little things to make your website look better, and you work on, a marketing campaign, and you work on a video, and you make sure it's perfect, and there's a limit, The main thing has to be the art and the work you're doing in that department. Working on your business is important, but it needs to be auxiliary to working in your business. It can't be if all you're doing is working on your business and not working on the art, then the art has so little meaning. I'm not saying not to do it. Do both, but the proportions need to be right. Another thing people do, and it's related to the previous one, is like marketing and social media. And you could spend so much time on Instagram trying to gain more followers, and social media is such a rabbit hole that people get lost in, including myself. I waste so much time on my phone on social media, and this is time I could be spending doing things that are much more important, things I could be doing to make my own music, helping other people's music sound better. Check yourself with social media. Don't overdo it, and don't think that it's so important, because it's not. It's just what things look like to other people. I mean, again, post on social media, right? Make your Instagram stories, but don't make your whole day about it. It should be an afterthought of what you're working on, and then you share that with the world. Also just making content itself. If you're spending so much time making content that you're not actually working on any music, then you're clearly not making the right kind of content. If I spend too much time making this podcast, if you spend too much time, on your YouTube video that you're not actually working, you're mostly just working on the content itself, then your proportions are out of whack. Again, the main focus needs to be doing the things that matters, which is the art. A lot of people spend a lot of time on YouTube and on tutorials and listening to podcasts, and sometimes people get lost in the act of learning how to do rather than doing. And I know I've been down this rabbit hole, and I know a lot of people have also. If you're getting through 7 podcasts a week, but you barely work on one song, I think that something's a little bit out of whack. If you've watched 20 YouTube tutorials in one day, but you barely even touch the song you're working on, something's a bit out of whack. And people go down these rabbit holes, and it's true. And if you're doing that, here's a reminder to check yourself. This is not the way. The way is to be inside your DAW, working on your song, working on your artist's song, making the stuff that counts. The YouTube tutorials are fun, but let's be honest, it could be a bit more entertainment than actually a tutorial. Now, again, I'm using YouTube very often. If I don't know how to do something in Logic, I'll often go to YouTube and look up, how do I do this in Logic? How do I get this key command? What is that? And, whatever it is. And I'll get an answer. But if you're just spending all day watching, tutorials of Ableton or Logic or whatever DAW you're using, or anything, or just how to compress or how to EQ or any of these things, it means you're not doing enough of it inside the songs that you're working on. So check yourself. There's no real excuse. And the main thing is to prioritize your time and actually just work on the music that you're supposed to be working on. The more time you spend working on the creative stuff, the better it's going to come out. And be true to yourself, like Billie Eilish and Phineas and Jacob Coulier. Be true to yourself, because that's what matters now. The world has shifted. The paradigm has shifted. It's not about which records are going to sell more and how do we, make a beat that's going to everyone's going to buy. It's different. The world is different now. The floodgates have been opened. The Pandora's box has been opened, whatever analogy you want to use. So use this as an inspiration. Stop making excuses and go make some amazing art. All right, everybody. That's it for me this week. Hope you guys have a great week and dig into your art hardcore. Just do it. Make your music. And if you enjoyed this episode or any of the other episodes, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and share it with a friend. Until next time, have a great week, dig in, and I'll catch you on the flippity flop. All right, peace.